are in Druid Hill Park, which is in the center of West Baltimore. Druid Hill Park is where Fredrick Douglass High School played their baseball games, their varsity baseball games, for many years because they didn't have a field. I coached Fredrick Douglass High School from, I guess it was 2009 to 2017. What originally got me into coaching was when I worked with my daughter, first in softball, and then I got Jamie into baseball. I believe she was the first girl to play in the Towsontown Rec League. What got me into Douglass coaching was I really wanted to impact the students that were at Douglass. And I could do that as a teacher, and I was involved in other things like student government, but coaches have a special place. And I felt like if I could get into that, I could really influence people, students, more.
Do you have any particular memories of your time there at Douglass, or particular kids that stand out?
3 hours? I think we're the only school to beat every other school, at least once, and we played everybody. We were a 1A school. Their schools are divided 1A, 2A, 3A, and 4A. 4A being the big schools, Mervo, Baltimore Poly, Digital Harbor, City. They have populations of 2, maybe closer to 3,000, some of them. We had 800, but we had some really good athletes, and I sought them out. My memories are of going to football games. I wasn't watching the football games. I was watching to see who could throw the ball 70 yards, who ran hard even when they were winning by 30 or losing by 30, but they still played hard. That's the kids that I went after, and it worked. We had some really talented athletes. Not all of them worked out, but most of them did. One of the things I learned being a coach was it's a lot easier if you have help. And I got a lot of help. This hat, this is Cal Ripken Senior Foundation. Back in the day, when I was just starting, I was telling Roger Wittenbach about this, and he said, oh, you should meet up with these people at Cal Ripken Senior Foundation. And I did, and it became a great relationship, which I still have. I was teaching on the 3rd floor at Douglass one morning. Knock, knock. Actually, it was the afternoon. Knock, knock. There's this guy, Travis Punt. And Travis is there, and he says, hey, Jim, I got some equipment for you. And they brought in more equipment. You know, my guys didn't even have gloves. We had to go around, find equipment. It's not like the kids in the suburbs have 2 bats in their backpack, 2 gloves, cleats. We didn't have any of that. Nothing. A few guys, but most part, we had to go out and find them. And they brought us all kinds of equipment. And that was the start of an amazing relationship. And we were the experimental school for them. And of course, I went back the next year, and the next year, and the next year. And that was a great relationship. But I found putting a team together, and I don't mean just the players. I mean going to other people that were baseball people. I found guys that really wanted to help. There's a former Baltimore Oriole. He was also Rookie of the Year in the American League one year, Al Bumbry. He would come down. One day we're sitting behind the school, we're practicing. My first baseman, hey, that's Al Bumbry. He's driving onto our field. And Al comes up, hey Al, how you doing? Oh, I got some stuff for you. And he brings out like 90 baseballs. And you can never have enough baseballs. And then he'd stay around and he'd help us. He had us over to his house. He really knew what these guys needed. We had a tremendous relationship with Calvert Hall High School. They are probably the best baseball program high school, certainly in the Middle Atlantic area, over many years. And their coach, he was amazing. He invited me to bring some guys up, and we did. So we brought this collective together. We brought people, even from the church. I had people from the church that helped tutor these guys. We got them summer jobs at the Bear School through the Carol's Guild Permanent Endowment Fund. We had it one summer, we had 8 guys working over there. and most of them were baseball. We had a couple girls too, but they weren't baseballers. That makes a difference though. It's getting together with everyone. It's kind of like, okay, Jesus didn't do it all by himself. He went out and got 12 disciples and 12 guys running around spreading the word. These were the same kind of thing. It was a team effort, and a team on the field, a team off the field. The biggest thing. In 2000, what was that? I guess it was 14. I was done. I said, that's it. I've done my duty. I literally packed up all my stuff. I had commandeered a closet, which had all of our stuff in it. And we got a lot of stuff. I brought it all home. I said, Mary, that's it, I'm done. So I'm like, what's my next move? What am I gonna do? So I'm out riding my bike on the NCR trail by myself. And I don't know, I started thinking, what am I gonna do? And I'm kind of thinking, what am I gonna do, God? You gotta go back. Whoa, hold up here. If you get that kind of message, you don't ignore it. I was like afraid to ignore it. And so I did. This was in the summer, and I took all my stuff, I put it back in. I hadn't told anybody I was gonna resign except Mary, my wife. Within 3 weeks, I get a call from the Ripken Foundation, and they say, hey Tim, you think they'd want a new field at Fredrick Douglass? I'm like, are you kidding me? We don't have a field at Fredrick Douglass. Of course we do. I said, okay, we're gonna work on that. Well, 3 years later and $2.4 million later, they have a new field. And there's 2 fields in Baltimore City that are better. Orioles Park and Johns Hopkins. And the third best is the Fredrick Douglass baseball field. That same summer, I was working with guys, doing a lot of, like I said, it's a 365 job, it never ends. And I'm on the eye looking for other players. And there was this one young man, Tyler. Tyler was really good. And his mother was not pleased with the school he was attending. And she liked me, and I liked her, and I really liked her son. So we went over, his dad and his mom and him, and we did a tour through Douglass. Now keep in mind, this is like within a month, 6 weeks maybe, after I had my little visit inspiration, and he agrees to come over and play. Well, Tyler played, he was going to be a senior. He played his senior year, and Tyler was chosen not by me, but my fellow coaches as the player of the year for Baltimore City. That's with all the high schools. Tyler was good, and we did well. We never had a losing season, and it was just a lot of fun, but it was inspired by a lot of other people, and people got into it, which was fun. See, this is the field we played the first 3 or 4 years. No, actually, they played up until 2018 on. And things were tough in West Baltimore. We were playing, I believe it was Edmondson High School, and their star pitcher, who was a fabulous kid, he was terrific grades, he got shot. He was murdered. Before the game, all the kids went out, stood around the pitcher's mound right there. They kind of got in a circle, and we had a plaque, and their coach said a few words, and a couple of the kids said some, just talking, remembering him, and it was, saying a couple of prayers. But keep in mind, these are tough inner city kids, and they're coming at this with the heart. And then we just went on and we played the game in his honor. I don't even remember who won. It didn't really matter. I guess it did matter, but at that time, you kind of put things at what's really important. Teaching about the sport and teaching about life really go hand in hand. I would always say to them, we'd be out here, they'd be on the field, I'd say, all right, Dion, what are you going to do when the ball comes to you? Think ahead. You're on first base. What are you going to do if the ball's hit the left field? What are you going to do? Are you going to run? What's the ground ball? Think. You got to think ahead. And I said, and that's not just this game. That's life. What are you going to do when you get out of high school? Are you going to a trade school? Are you going to go work? You're going to go to college? What are you going to do? Think ahead. And the two kind of dovetail. I'd like to think that we had some successes with that. At least they were thinking ahead somewhat. Last week I had a guy call me. He graduated in 2011, I think. Chaz. Chaz calls me. Hey, Coach Foster, how you doing? Chaz, where you been, man? Well, I'm living in Tucson now. I said, what? Tucson, Arizona? He said, yeah, I need to get out of Baltimore. Time to go. Me and my wife are out here. We're doing great. Things like that. That gets me here. He's doing great. There's a lot of guys that are doing really, really well. Last Saturday, I went to a football game in Shepherdstown, West Virginia, to see one of my former guys play football. I went up with his mom and his two sisters, and it was wonderful. He's going to graduate in December. He's got another year of eligibility. His brother, Brian, that was Malik. Brian is going to be a Baltimore County cop. So someday if I'm riding down the road and I get a ticket and it's Brian, I might be okay. As of December, he will be a cop. That's a huge win. That's huge. And getting college degrees, that's kind of unusual in West Baltimore for a lot of folks, especially they're the first male in their family to do that. Not all successes, but enough to make me think like, okay, you just don't know the seeds you plant. I want my guys to play against good teams. I call them up. Oh, geez, Coach, I'm sorry, we're filled up. I'm sorry, Coach, we're filled up. Well, there's no percentage for them. If we beat them, it's like, oh my God, you guys lost to this little inner city black school. On the other hand, if they beat us, it's like, so what? You beat an inner city black school. So there's a Bible verse which it goes like this. But the Lord said unto Samuel, look not on his countenance or on the height of his stature, because I have refused him. For the Lord seeth not as a man seeth, for the man looketh on the outward appearance, but the Lord looketh on the heart. I believe that's 1 Samuel 16:7. And I always thought, that's David and Goliath he's talking about. Goliath being big. Obviously David was the underdog who overcame the odds. I always felt that about us, which kind of in a way gave us an edge, because come on, nobody's expecting you guys to beat this team. Let's go do it. Let's show them how wrong they are. And a lot of times they did. Not always. We took our share of hits. We upset Poly, which is a big baseball school. They were undefeated. It was a regional playoff. The other team that was going to play the next round in the playoffs came to scout Poly. Well, guess who they ended up playing? Douglass. Because we beat them 10-9. When it was big upset. Everybody loved that one. But I always thought a David and Goliath analogy is not that far off. And David was brave, and David went forward doing a lot of things people really didn't expect of him.